A war that was supposed to end in a few days is now stretching more than expected. In this context, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, recently conducted 18 minutes of briefing where he has explained that United States and Israel are winning the war. They are unstoppable and the war is about to near the end. But the biggest twist is there is no clear guideline when exactly war would end. What is the next strategy US will adopt as far as the Iranian region is concerned? And also, Donald Trump has not clarified that if there are negotiations going on, what are the details about these negotiations. So, based on his 18 minute speech, what we can decipher is that still war is in the phase of uncertainty. Anything can happen. Especially, Trump also has warned Iran that they could be bombed back to the Stone Age where they belong as such. So this has created a large scale concern among the markets all across the world, especially Asia. And the question is why India should be concerned about this, why India should be looking forward to any development that happens in the context of Iran war, and what are the major takeaways we should take from the Donald Trump's speech. Now, if you look at the context of this entire discussion, yesterday, 18-minute of address he gave in the White House, that is the official residence of US President, and the war currently is in the 32nd day as such. Well, in the beginning, everyone expected that US and Israel would wound up this war maybe in 4 to 5 days, but now it is almost more than a month as such. In this particular speech, then Donald Trump has tried to explain what is the position of United States as far as this war is concerned, and how complex is this particular conflict, and how US citizens should be prepared for this. So, if first of all look at the timeline and duration, though he has stated the war is coming to its near end, but he also did not give a clear timeline that when exactly US and Israel are planning to end the war, are going to pull out all the resources from this particular area and are going to stop striking Iranian territory. At the same time, he has stated that 2-3 more weeks of operations can be and should be expected. US would keep hitting Iran hard. They have several targets in the Iranian territory which they want to strike before concluding this particular event as such. War may extend to 8 weeks, that's what we can understand, because currently we are already in the end of fourth week and now a couple of more weeks and plus some uncertainty. So about 8 weeks of war we can expect in the Iran at least, and then that is obviously longer than the initial expectations, and it has a huge ramifications for not only the Middle Eastern region, not only for US and Israel, but for countries all across the world. Also, during his speech, he tried to draw a parallel between this particular war and the other earlier war that US was involved in. He said that compared to the world wars, Korean War, Vietnam War, the current Iran war is very, very short duration. He said that World War One and Two, United States has to involve for several years as such. Similarly, in Korean War, they're involved for more than 3 years. In the Vietnam War, they were involved for 19 years. Same he says for the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, where decades of work was done by United States government and military, and in that context is trying to say that this war is very, very short duration. So it used to show war is relatively short, and he is trying to basically frame a perception of conflict duration. He do not want US citizens, specifically public US public, because the US midterm elections are going to be held in the November. So we want to create a positive image that compared to the earlier presidents, earlier administration, his administration is also engulfed in war, but this still is a very short duration war and is going to end fast. As far as the negotiations are concerned, we have seen that Donald Trump has many times made a claim that he is in continuous negotiations, consultation with the Iranian regime. However, this has been completely rejected by Iranian administration, whether it is the president of Iran, whether it is the IRGC commander, another spokesperson of Iran. They have stated that there is no negotiation going on. Trump also stated that Iran has asked for ceasefire, but that also was said it is a wrong statement by the Iranian administration. So now he has made other U-turn. Earlier in the beginning of war, he said that one of the stated objective of US strike was to carry out regime change. Now he's saying that regime change was not a stated goal. Regime change indeed has taken place in Iran, but that is a natural outcome of targeting of Iranian leadership. We have seen in the early few days of war, almost all the top leaders of Iran, including the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei was killed, and that's why someone else has to take the spot as such. So this particular statement, anyway, it shows a shift in the US strategic narrative, where it seems that US is trying to pull out as fast as possible because of the repercussions on domestic politics as well as economy as such. Now, also we have to understand that though US claimed regime change to be its stated goal in early time, and now it is flip-flopping on it, one thing what we are seeing is that Iranian administration and government was fully prepared for it, because it is believed by the experts that in the event of killing of a particular leader at a particular position in the Iranian government, Iranian administration, there is already 4 to 8 people who already are nominated, who know that if the other person died, who will replace him. And that's why there is never a kind of administrative vacuum that we saw developing in Iran as such, because as soon as the leader were killed, they were simply being replaced by the other leader who already had previous understanding. So that's why the continuity in functioning and overall continuity in the strategic outreach of Iran can be clearly seen here. Now, the change of regime change, we have seen realities. Earlier push for regime change now claims leadership has weakened. And also Trump is trying to say that the current administration, current regime that is holding the reins of Iran are relatively more liberal as compared to earlier conservative ones. They are more amenable to any kind of negotiation, discussion, especially in the context of nuclear weapons and all. So Iran's system, however, is stable due to success in planning. Multiple leadership layers, we have discussed up to 8 layers of leadership. They already had planned from before. Now, also, US has stated that they are trying to and want to end the war as soon as possible. But at the same time, if Iranian administration and government do not heed to the negotiation, do not accept the demands of US, in that case, they would attack the critical infrastructure of Iran, including power grid. Here, Donald Trump has made a point that it could cause civilian crisis, and because power grid is on which desalination plant of Iran operates, which feeds to large number of people, which basically feeds water supply to large number of areas, it could lead people thirsty. So water electricity supply shock we can see in the Iran if indeed US goes ahead with its threat. It can be seen as a major escalation risk. Not only that, many experts across the world points out that it could also be equated with a war crime, because it would lead to direct civilian casualties and it would be tantamount to war crime. But however, that is the kind of trumpeting, that is the kind of we can say rhetoric we are seeing coming from Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. As far as the military superiority claims is concerned, again, as we know, Trump is known for this blowing his own trumpet. So basically, he has stated that by the US strike, Iran air defense system has completely been decimated, destroyed. They did not even have a single radar. They did not have any anti-aircraft system. And that's why US aircraft and Israeli aircraft can anytime enter into the Iranian space and carry out strikes wherever they want. This is the point Trump has tried to make. Radar system neutralized. US claims total dominance as far as the Iranian airspace is concerned. So what Trump is stating, that US and Israel, they have become unstoppable force in the Iranian territory. As far as the nuclear site issue is concerned, we know that in the earlier attack of 2025, Fordow, Natanz, Isfahan, 3 major nuclear sites you can see Iran has in the we can say north and the western part of Iran. So nearby Tehran also. So it has been claimed by Trump that these 3 sites have completely been obliterated. Not only obliterated, he even used the term called as nuclear dust. He has stated that all sites have basically been converted into rubble. They are nothing but nuclear dust. And that's why when the question was asked that whether Trump is planning to send US soldiers to retrieve nuclear fissile material from this site, he said there's no need as of now, because this entire site is under complete and permanent satellite surveillance, and Iranians are not also trying to go there. If Iranian government administration try to go there to recover and retrieve fissile material, in that case, US would again launch massive strike against them. US can anytime launch massive missile strike against them. That's what Trump is claiming. So he has stated that Iranian administration government should also not go and move in these areas to extract and retrieve nuclear materials. But at the same time, US stated that US does not need to send its ground troop in these nuclear sites. Now coming to the next point, that is the Strait of Hormuz. He has stated that it is a critical global oil route. There is no doubt about it. But US asked other countries to protect it, because what US is trying to make a point is that if you look at the Strait of Hormuz, the countries which are largely dependent on it for the oil and gas import are Asian countries or to some extent European countries. So US is trying to shift the responsibility to these countries that it is your strait, it is your dependency on this strait, so you should be sending your military, you should be sending your navy to patrol these areas and ensure that Strait of Hormuz remains open. However, also Trump has made a point that US is willing to help them if they need this help, require this help, but US is not dependent on this strait. That's why it's not United States' prime responsibility. This also can be seen as a change in the position, because earlier Trump had made a claim that if Strait of Hormuz is not opened by Iran in 48 hours, they would carry out massive strikes on the electric grids and the oil infrastructure as such. Trump also said that oil infrastructures are the easiest target for US and Israel, but they are not targeting it because it would cause the massive we can say supply shock, disruption shock, and Iran will have no other possibility to revive back, restructure even at the end of war. So US may assist as far as the Strait of Hormuz crisis is concerned, but it would not lead it. US expect the countries, especially European countries, he has indirectly hinted, should have the responsibility of ensuring safety and security along this strait. Now, obviously, due to the war that has entered in the fourth week, a global energy supply setback we are seeing. That's the reason why Russia has become again a prime supplier, major supplier of oil to India as such. But overall, global dependence on Hormuz is very high. More than quarter of world's oil and gas flow through this particular strait, and that's why if the war stretches long, economic ripple effects of this war would not be felt by the region alone, but can be seen across the world as such. Now, as far as the implications for India is concerned, why India should be very much worrying about any kind of development in this area, because the oil prices definitely are going to rise. If you try to think about the Strait of Hormuz, that was our shortest route through which we can get oil and gas from all of our Middle Eastern exporters, whether it is UAE, Saudi Arabia, and all that. Similarly, the other route that opens to us is the Red Sea. But there again, because of the Yemen's Houthis who have joined the war from the Iranian side, there is a risk that that route can also be disrupted. So that's why oil prices might rise in the near future further. Already, as we can see, that before the beginning of war, oil was hovering around somewhere $60 to $70 per barrel. Now it has shot up beyond $100 per barrel. So its impact on the domestic economy can be seen, and that's why for this particular crisis, management of the crisis, we cannot just look and focus on short-term effort. We have to have a long-term preparedness so that even in future, if some disruption is seen, India should be well cushioned, well prepared to tackle those crises. Energy security is the biggest concern India has as far as this particular war is concerned. Plus, some secondary considerations as concerns can be because of the reduction in the remittances, because India is one of the largest recipient of foreign remittances in the world, and majority of it comes from the Gulf countries where you have millions of Indians working. So those remittances can also see a decline in the coming future. Trade route definitely is vulnerable as far as India is concerned. Now, the final analysis if you try to make is that based on the 18-minute of statement that Trump has given, many experts have claimed it is incoherent, it is not very clear, and it creates more confusion rather than clarity. Thus, it seems that war is far from over, as claimed by Trump a few days back. Negotiations still is possible, because as you can see, Trump is taking a kind of softening stance. Trump is not bad mouthing all the Irani leaders. They are saying that the current administration is more amenable, they are more liberal, they are more understanding. So that's why that is possible, and that could lead to the end of war. Masoud Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, also has made an effort in this direction, that Iran wants to go on the path of peace as such and try to bring this war to an end. He also has written a public letter to the American citizens saying that they do not have any enmity or any kind of war with the American citizens as such, American people as such. So overall, what we can see in the coming days is the approach that would taken largely by both US, Israel on one side and Iran on the other side is of military and economic strategy. Economic, by the sense, Iran claims complete control over the Strait of Hormuz. They're also trying to put a kind of toll booth so that only those ships which will pay money can pass through and transit through the Strait of Hormuz. And overall, no matter whatever happens, we can definitely say this war would leave a big impact on the global geopolitics. That's all as far as this particular video is concerned. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your aspirants as a subscribe channel for more such content. Thank you very much.